Lori says, Latinos are not a race, they're an ethnicity with tremendous diversity. So, under the Voting Rights Act, under election law generally, how or why would Latinos be considered a racial group?
So I'm using race as a shorthand. What the statute actually says is race or a protected language minority. In practice, this means um, African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, and Asian Americans. Those are the groups that have typically been protected. And in order to show a voting rights violation, you have to show a politically cohesive group. So if you have like a group of Vietnamese Americans who tend to vote Republican, which is the case down in parts of Orange County. And nearby, you have large groups of Chinese voters who don't tend to vote Republican. You wouldn't be able to make a Voting Rights Act violation by putting them together. You have to show that the group not only has a similar uh, uh, racial or ethnic background, but also that they vote as a bloc, consistently try to vote to elect candidates of their choice, and the white majority consistently votes to oppose them. This is why this part of the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, is kind of self-sunsetting. It'll go out of business on its own accord. Once whites and minority voters are preferring the same set of candidates, and that's true, more so in a place like Los Angeles now, you don't see as much racially polarized voting as you used to. You still see a lot of it in the American South. But if you can't make out that as a voting rights plaintiff, if you can't show that there's racially polarized voting, and you can't show there's a cohesive group of minority voters who are large enough to be able to create a district where they could elect candidates of their choice, then you can't make out a Section 2 violation. It's only in those places, and you could think of like Central Valley in California, where Latino farm workers have different interests than white ranchers. Like that's a much more typical kind of pattern that we see where there could potentially be a Voting Rights Act violation.